Benoît, tu veux commencer?
Okay. Welcome everybody. So that webinar will be about EUDR and talking about the specific geolocation platform that we finalized, and it's in operation now in Quebec. So I will share my presentation. Very good. So I will go around EUDR, just a little 5 minutes to explain what it is exactly, a wrap up. So EUDR is a regulation adopted by EU to ensure that products linked to deforestation or forest degradation are not imported into the EU or exported from the EU. The implementation has been delayed at December 30, 2025, but I will tell you there's another year delay that's in the air that's not voted yet, but it most probably be another year delay. The commodity that's who are affected are all components were coming from forest or creating potentially deforestation, like cattle, cocoa, coffee, palm oil, rubber, soy, but also wood and wood products. And when we talk wood product, it includes all the down the chain, the value chain of wood products, 2x4, value-added wood, pulp, wood fiber, paper, cardboard, wooden furniture, uh, prefab wood building, and even books made with paper. What is excluded is the packaging and transport product. Like if you sell a TV that's wrapped in a wood case, this is not uh, account for the deforestation regulations. Also excluded the 100% recycled products. The 1 year delay is in the air, another 1 year delay by the European Commission. It's not voted yet, but almost. And the reason was the IT system is not ready, which is not true. We tested with our platform, and it works perfectly well. The real reason is most probably that a lot of European countries are not ready. Maybe there are 5 or 6 countries in Europe that are fully ready, and the rest are not really ready. And also the data collection before delivery. That means if you ship ton of pulp in January 26, you will have to backtrack the geolocation of the supply to 6 months or 1 year before. So if you start to geolocate your material in December, it's impossible that your geolocation will be up to date for the shipment in January. Who is concerned? Everybody, because any primary mills that receive logs, even if you don't sell to Europe, you will sell chips to a paper mill, or you will sell sawdust to a pellet manufacturer, and this paper mill may sell some pulp in US, and that pulp can be sold to a paper mill, and that paper mill will sell to a wholesaler who is doing books. That books will go to Europe one day. So the paper mill will have to control all their geolocation supply to ensure that down the value chain there's no risk for them. So the main components of EUDR, the goods and product concerned may only be available in the market or exported in the following conditions. They are deforestation free, and deforestation here is strictly deforestation to agriculture. So wood coming from, I don't know, urban development, it's not considered, or if you have a mining operation and the wood coming from there is not considered, is strictly to agriculture. And they have been produced in compliance with the legislation in the country. We talk here legality, which in Canada it's quite easy. But the key part is they are covered by a due diligence declaration that include a geolocation of the forest where the wood was harvested. We call that the data collection and the geolocation. And this need to be done for 100%. There's no mass balance accepted. I mean, you cannot be geolocate at 90% or 70%. If you have one truck of chips that comes into a paper mill that is not geolocated, you corrupt all the production because you cannot know which chips will do a ton of pulp. So it has to be 100% geolocated. The other part is the risk assessment and mitigation measures, but this is optional for low risk country, and Canada is a low risk country. So we don't need to do that, but we still have to prove the legality. So the risk assessment of the province is a good tool. The operator is the customer in Europe, the first one to receive the information. He's the one who need to collect the information, the document, and all the data attesting the compliance of the product. He needs to keep that for 5 years from the date of placement in the market. The geolocation point is defined by latitude and longitude coordinates with at least 6 decimal place. The polygon must contain enough geolocation points to accurately describe the perimeter or the shapefile of the land. Supported data format is GeoJSON files. If you're not a geomatician, it means nothing. But for me, it means nothing, but I will show you later what it is. In short, what the platform do is provide geolocation data for your log supply in the required format. That's exactly what the platform does, and only what the platform does. We don't go after the mill in a chain of custody or a traceability system after the mill. We just do the geolocation data. We will also have the risk assessment for the province of Quebec that we did. It's available on the website of Quebec, and we have also a Quebec official document talking about the absence of deforestation or degradation in Quebec. But each province can do that kind of information document. It's quite easy. So to resume, what it's needed and what the platform do, like I take an example of private forest in Quebec. So you have to put the cadastral number of all the lot that come to your mill. The platform will provide the shape file and will create this. This is the GeoJSON file that compliant with the EUDR system. That's what you give to the paper mill. Much bigger than this, but this is just the one for this private land. So if you are an expert in geomatic, you don't need the platform. You can all do that by yourself. But with the platform, you save a lot of time. Even if you don't understand the GeoJSON file, you just input the data in the platform. It creates the GeoJSON for Europe, and you give that to your customer who needs this GeoJSON file. The GeoJSON file is only the shape file of all the lots or the shape file of all the cut block you had came to the mill. It doesn't show any owner, volume, or whatsoever. So the features of the platform, geolocation of the harvested plot and description of the perimeters. In Quebec, we analyze also the harvested plot and attach the supporting document. Example, if there's you will see that with the next presentation. If there is a potential risk for a national park or whatsoever, you need to attach some supporting document. The generation of files compatible with EUDR system. The storage information for 5 years, even if definitely it's the job of the operator, but you can keep your own information, and it's a secure, specific mill access and confidentiality that only the mill will be able to share their information if they want. Nobody else can see that. So you give to your customer, if they request, the access of the JSON file of your supply, but nobody else can see what you have, the volume or whatsoever. In an example for Quebec, where do we buy our logs from? So if I start from the lower part, the big volume is public land, so 20 million cubic meter roughly. This information for sure it's easy, we already have that. All province have their public land information geolocation system available with their data sets, so that's an easy part. We have also 6 million cubic meter from private land, which is a more complicated area to access geolocations. We also buy from private land in Ontario and New Brunswick, also public land in Ontario sometimes, and we buy from the US about 2.6 million cubic meter. So, well, as I said, public forest, easy. All province have data sets where forest stands and logging area compiled and geolocated. In Quebec, we have that since 76. It's a public website with no access restriction. For a specific mill, they have their PRAN and their BBMB. That's also another system in Quebec. So all the information of your cutting allowance is already geolocated. You just put the numbers in the system and it creates the GeoJSON. For private forest, the geolocation information is available to a cadastral map system in Quebec, same with all the province. The problem is it costs something to access an information of cadastral maps. So we had to develop with the Minister of Forest, they were a very good help for us. We developed a free and accessible cadastral data sets that meets EUDR, the geolocation requirements. So what it does, it take the shapefile of the cadastral map only. You don't have the name of the owner, the date he buys that, the value of the land. You have nothing else than the shapefile of the geolocations. So we do a combination of parcel boundaries and forest polygon within the parcel. And the parcel geolocation of these cadastral maps is updated 4 times a year, and it is linked to our platform by a license and a controlled access. So you just input the number and the platform do everything. We have the same for New Brunswick. It's available, it's free. We are now looking for Ontario and Nova Scotia. It's also a cost system that you have to pay for the information, but we're working with the government now to have a viable access free. I remind you, geolocation versus traceability. So geolocation is strictly the traceability of the logs going to a mill, a primary mills. If a pulp log go to a paper mills, this includes the system, but we don't do anything on traceability of customers after the mill. We just do the geolocation. And a lot of consultants or companies from Europe, you will receive, I receive 25 offers per week of we have the solution for your EUDR system. Normally what they do, they have a full chain of custody and traceability system, but they cannot do the geolocation because it's a government information that's not accessible to all. So you have to connect and do your own geolocation system. And that's exactly what our platform do. And our platform is free for all Canadians industry. Why? Because we need 100%. So if it charge something, the small mill will not pay, and it will corrupt the old system. So It's free because it's mandatory and everybody need to be in to ensure a 100% coverage. Next step, so we continue the improvement. The platform is fully available. It's tested in Quebec now, and you will have some presentation about that. As I said, the data available now is Quebec public and private, New Brunswick private, US county and township. That's the only level that US is willing to go. They don't want to go deeper than that for private reasons. So we are not sure yet that will be accepted, but they negotiate hard, and I think that will be accepted. So that's what we have because the information is already available. If you buy logs in US, the county and township is in the bill of lading, so it's not a big information. It's easy to have. The data to come, Ontario private and Nova Scotia private. For other provinces, we have no time and the effort to go there and implement their datas, but the platform is free. We give that to some province in the West, and they can take it, put their data in for their industry, and use the platform is strictly a creation of GeoJSON EUDR files based with the shape file of the information from the province, so that they get easy to use and they can take it and use it. Underlying project, because we have the distance of transport from all logs to the mill, we will develop a generator, EPD generator system for primary mills, environmental product declaration, in collaboration with some consultant support. So the idea is we will have the environmental impact of the transport of the logs in the mill. We will add the impact of the forest operation, which is a standard data available already per cubic meter. And we will develop a small platform for energy consumption and in the mill operation, in the specific mill operation. So the quantity of fuel per year, the quantity of electricity in which grid, etc., etc. So you just fill the information, enter, and you have your specific EPDs for your specific mill locations. So that can be, it's too soon now, but this is mandatory in Europe, and it will come here one day or another. So this is also a free system. Other research project can be related to geolocations in the air, because having this geolocation will allow maybe FORAC to do some more work on the forest geolocation and traceability. That's it for me. I will ask you to keep your questions for the end. We will have a couple presentation. You can put some question in the question mark, I think, but keep your information now. I will let Louis from FORAC or Luc from FORAC to do the other presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvain. So my name is Luc Lebel. I'm a professor at Laval University. I'm also the director of the FORAC Research Consortium. So here's a quick the presentation will be done mostly by Louis Allard. Louis is a research professional here at FORAC, and also available today is the main software developer of the platform. So if you have questions as we move along, just add your question in the Q&A, and some people will be available to provide you answer as we go along. Quickly, a quick outline of the presentation, or just before the outline, matter of fact. Yeah, so we're going to come back to EUDR, but very, very briefly to give some specific about how the platform is working. We're going to describe the platform, the QWEB platform. There will be a demo, and there will be testimonials from two industry. One of the presentation will be made by Louis because the person was not available today. but there's a recording available for that presentation if you want to have the first level testimony for that one. Okay, I'm going to give you just a word about FORAC, so why we are there. We are a research consortium, university-based research consortium. We work with companies. Most of our research is in partnership with industry or government. The Quebec government is a partner of FORAC. We use those funds to get leverage from NSERC, for example. Our mission is to do research, applied research, and to also train the new generation of a researcher dedicated to the forest value chain. The next slide, Louis, please. So, as I said, our mission, and we're very upfront about it, is to help the Quebec and Canadian forest industry be more competitive at the international level. And we do that by doing research, training qualified personnel. We're a university, we're not a consultant, conductive, innovative, and collaborative research, and foster the adaptation. And this project is a good example of how we had to quickly adapt to a changing business environment. We had work on traceability for some time, find traceability in the forest where the harvester put the logs, the forwarder pick it up, bring it to roadside, send it to a mill. So we're working on that. And this is how we kind of got dragged into the project. And we also see the benefit that once we have that data, it will provide benefits. One of the benefits is for the state to make sure that we can market our product. This is the states has to take leadership there. This is why in Quebec, while there was no layer available to do to cover the private sector, the private forest, they worked on it and they were able in a few months to deliver something we could integrate in our project. New Brunswick already had something that was publicly available. We work at the network. You have many. Nobody is in a silo working by themselves. There are so many exchanges. So this is also the DNA of FORAC, is to try to foster competitiveness by working well together, acknowledging the different relationship that exists. And we also work at the business unit level, but this is something that does not necessarily apply to this project here, where we try to improve machine performance, mill performance. We focus a lot on digital transformation, and this is a good example of how we can benefit from a better visibility and digital transformation. So this is in a nutshell what we do at FORAC and why we are involved with this. So what we're developing is going to be freely available to QWEB. We have renounced the IP on this project because it was for the benefit of the sector, the forestry companies, and the government. So that's it, Louis. I'm going to let you take it from here and describe the platform.
Thank you, Luc. Thank you, Sylvain, for the presentation as well. So I'm going to start with a quick summary of the elements of EUDR that are very important and specific to the platform. The main EUDR requirement that's interesting to us is that the information required by the EUDR regarding harvest plots. So the information that's needed by EUDR is quite simple as far as geolocation goes. There needs to be the country of production and date of production that's identified. The EUDR system also needs a single GPS point, which is sufficient for plots of less than 4 hectares. If it's more than 4 hectares, there has to be a polygon that delimits the perimeter of each plot, and this data that is submitted to the EU system has to be submitted in a GeoJSON format. So the point of the platform is to be able to manage geolocation data coming from different sources in different data format to all fit into one single GeoJSON file and to be as user-friendly as possible so that as many users, no matter their geomatics level of expertise, can use the platform. So I'm going to present the QWEB platform, the data that is accepted by the platform and in which format it has to be entered in, and also the different features of the platform, and then I'm going to do a small demo of the platform. So the features of the QWEB platform, first of all, it allows the importation of data from different sources, as I was explaining. The main sources we are working with in Quebec and in Canada as well, but the first level of development was very much focused on Quebec. So the different sources, there's crownland sources and large forest owners for which there will often be geolocated harvest plans that are created. The platform allows the importation of shapefile harvest plans. So any polygon that's outlining where wood has been harvested can be input on the platform as long as it's a shapefile format. We will also soon support GeoJSON format. There's also a lot of wood that's harvested in Quebec that comes from small private forests, either from Quebec or from New Brunswick. So what we allowed is to be able to import simply an Excel file with a list of cadastral numbers or parcel ID numbers, and for the platform to return the polygons of the parcels. Regarding wood coming from the Northeast USA, if it comes from large forest owners that create geolocated harvest plans and are ready to share it, this can be entered as a shapefile. If there is no harvest plan, what the platform allows is to add a list of townships in an Excel format, and the platform returns the polygons of the towns and townships. We will also add the support for counties. So to be able to input a list of counties, and the platform returns the outline of the counties. The platform also does analysis of imported plots. So we verify that the plots aren't in non-harvestable areas, for example, protected areas. We also verify if the wood is coming from crown lands. We verify with management units to identify from where the wood is coming. That can help identify risks of non-conformity. The platform also allows the uploading of supporting documents. So for example, harvest plans or anything vouching for the legality of operations if that's something the users want to add. The platform also allows data export, so the generation of GeoJSON files compliant with the European Information System. We did some tests to make sure that the files created by the platform are conform. And we also allow data transfer between companies. So instead of having users gathering themselves the information of where their wood comes from and then transferring it separately to their different customers, all the data can be input into the platform. Clients can be identified on the platform, or accesses can be granted to different users. So users only have to upload their data once and all their suppliers can have access to it. So I'll go more into detail on the supported data formats and the way we have to enter it into the platform for it to be supported. So for shapefiles, obviously the importation of shapefiles requires all the associated files. So .shp, shx, all the different files composing a shapefile have to be added. The file must contain at least 3 fields for it to be recognized by the platform and considered by the platform and added to the cut block page. So we have to have a unique block name, a field with the area in hectares, and the harvest or a delivery date so that the platform can recognize at what time the wood has been cut. And when we create conformity GeoJSON files to be able to create it for a distinct horizon of time. And then something to mention is that the field names can be flexible. So field matching is done on import by the user. So the user identifies to the platform what is the name of the field where the data is contained. And shapefiles from other provinces in the United States are accepted. Technically, shapefiles from all around the world could be added to the platform. The platform recognizes from which country it comes from. It adds this information to the GeoJSON file created in the end. And yeah. We can also add Excel files containing cadastral numbers of lots. That's currently working for Quebec and New Brunswick. So the format accepted is the XLSX format. The file must contain at least 3 columns that are highlighted in green in the example at the bottom. So it's cadastral numbers or parcel ID. That's essential. Then there's the province so that the platform knows to which database to refer itself in order to add the polygons. And then a harvest date. The field names are flexible. Once again, the field matching is done on import by the user. For the American towns and townships, it works right now for Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, and Massachusetts. The platform also accepts the XLSX format, and the file must contain at least 3 columns. Instead of being a parcel ID, in this case, we have to enter the name of the town or township. The spelling is very important. The list of tolerated names is on the homepage. There's also harvest date, and there's province or state. Well, in this case, state that has to be entered so that the platform knows in which state's database to go look for the town or township name. Once again, the field names are flexible and the field mapping is done on import. This procedure will change in the coming weeks, probably. So in the coming 2 weeks, we will add the support for American counties. So at that time, the way to enter data from township, and counties will change. So there will probably be more fields to be filled. For now, the Canada and USA Excel files can be combined. So right now, how it works is that the cadastral number and the parcel or parcel ID and the town and township have to be entered in the same field. We also have to have a harvest or delivery date and province or state. In the future, the cadastral number will most likely be a different field from the town and township, and there will also be another field for the county. So all these informations will be able to be entered in different fields, and the platform will automatically recognize what fields are filled out and be able to identify, is this a county, is this a town, or is this a parcel ID, and refer to the correct database to add the corresponding polygon. There's analysis of imported parcels, as I was mentioning, and as Sylvain was mentioning also. So we check the overlap of blocks with protected areas. For example, in this case, we see that on the left, the polygon is contained in a layer of protected areas, so in the Réserve écologique Samuel Brisson, so it gives a warning so that users can just verify that this information is correct. So that reduces the risk of declaring illegal situations to the EUDR. There are also some geometries that aren't supported by EUDR. For example, if there are holes in polygons, the platform doesn't accept the GeoJSON, or it ignores the feature. So we fill out the holes. There are some other small tweaks that we make to the geometries. in order for it to be conformed to the platform. When there are geometry corrections, we add a warning to advise the user that the polygon has been slightly modified. And we also allow the adding of supporting documents. There are different roles that users can have on the platform. So all the data that is entered on the platform has to be associated with a mail. An organization can have many mails if they have separate or distinct supply in their different mails, but a manager is attributed to a mail. So when you are a manager of the mail, you can add, modify, or consult the data from a mail. So you can add data from the methods I just showed you. And you can also add access to other users on the mail, either add other managers or grant read-write access or read-only access to users on your mail. You can also declare other mails as customers, and you can enable or disable suppliers so that their data appears or not into your mail's supply. There's a read-write role, which is similar to the manager mail, except you don't have access to, you can't control access to other users. So a read-write role allows a user to add, modify, or consult data, but not to change the relationship between the mail and other mails or other users. The read-only role is a role given to a user by a manager. So a manager, if someone asks to see the data, can grant a read-only role. It allows the user with the read-only role to view the supply of the relevant mail, but he cannot modify the data. So he can't create, add new data. He can't delete data. He can only see it and export it, export the data in a GeoJSON. There's also the possibility to declare a mail as being a customer. So that's an access given to a mail instead of being given to a user. So that declares that, for example, if I have a mail and I declare a client, then I am declaring my own mail as a supplier to this other mail. So the client mail will be able to see the supplier data through his own supply. If the customer mail shares his data to other users, the supplier data will be added through his own data. However, the data will be included anonymously. So if mail A is identified as a supplier of mail B and mail B is identified as a supplier of mail C, mail C will see all the data from mail A as being part of mail B. So that preserves privacy. When we add a new, when a mail declares a new mail as being a client, this client mail has to approve the demand. So that avoids users declaring themselves as suppliers to different mails that they are not really suppliers to. It can also avoid malicious intents if someone wanted to identify himself as a supplier of a mail and declare wrongful information. So I prepared a few examples of platform use cases for different typical users. So in the case of a sawmill sourcing mainly from public forests, the bulk of his supply would be input into the platform as shape files, so cut area reports, regional PRAN. So in Quebec, a PRAN is a harvest plans made by the government. So that's mainly the information that would be added. Most of the mills, even if they have a lot of their supply coming from public forests, will also have a small supply of private lots. So they might have a list of the cadastral numbers or parcel IDs of the private lots where they have harvested. So they might input a Excel file of these numbers. And then once the information has been input into the platform, they could identify and create the links with their customers, which are most likely paper mills that might use their sawdust or chips or bark. For other sawmills, maybe more towards the southern part of Quebec or closer to the US border, they might have a small part of public forest supply. They most likely will have a lot of their wood coming from either private forests of Quebec or from America. So they might have an Excel of the cadastral numbers of Quebec or New Brunswick, and then also an Excel of the American towns and townships where their wood comes from. They would add this to the platform and then identify their customers. And I just wanted to mention something on timber producers, unions, and associations. We have many, we have a few of those on the platform. They are often involved in collecting parcel ID numbers. Some of them are on the platform and they submit themselves, and then they can identify their customers, or they can also submit the lists of parcels to sawmills that can then enter it onto the platform. So if you have supply coming from timber producers unions, it would be worth it to reach out to them to see if they can help with providing the parcel ID numbers. And then there's the case of the paper mills. Most of the paper mills won't harvest themselves. Some of them do. We'll have an example of this later. But a big job of the paper mill will be to obtain access to data from all the suppliers, which can be numerous. And then they can use this data and export it either in a GeoJSON format that's already accepted by EUDR, or if they want to make more traceability, if they have a complex supply chain that they want to clarify, they can take the data and export it to a third-party solution. We have an API to help with this, so it can export data automatically. If that's something that would be of interest, you can reach out to me and I'll inform you on how to access the API. And the paper mill could then, once it has gathered all the data from its suppliers, transmit the information to its customers that have access to the EU market and need the information. In the future, as Sylvain was mentioning a few of those, but one of the main steps coming is for us to transfer the hosting to be managed by the QWEB. So right now the platform is being developed by FORAC. The platform is hosted on servers at the Laval University, but eventually we will transfer the platform for QWEB, who will maintain it in the long term. It should be a more stable environment. Right now, we sometimes have a few disruptions because of server management here at Laval University. We will also add support for US County data in the coming weeks, probably in the next 2 weeks. Documentation will be provided to detail how to enter the data once the US County data has been added. And we are also working to obtain data from Ontario and Nova Scotia as we speak. I just wanted to say a word on the importance of complying quickly, whether there is a report of the compliance date or not. So the approach is simplified as much as possible by the platform, but it still remains a complex task to comply to EUDR. It's a big job at first, but then it becomes a bit easier. But at the start, when we first log into the platform, there's a bit of work to be made, notably the creation of links with suppliers. Many users will have many suppliers or many clients that they have to connect to. It can take time to create the links between users. and to authorize the data sharing. So the quicker you log into the platform, the quicker this can be done. There's also work to be done to get the necessary data from suppliers. That can take a little bit of time. And you also have to check that the file format works. Once all this has been done, it's not a lot of work monthly to maintain the data on the platform and update the data. But at the start, it can be quite tedious. So we encourage you to start as early as possible. Also, by logging in early and starting to test the platform, it allows us, the development team, to adjust the features. So all the most recent features have come from interactions with users that declared that they needed some features to help them comply in their own context. So if you log in early, we can help you with the platform, even going as far as creating specific features. And so I encourage you to make your first login and contact me. I added the link to the platform, and I also added my contact information to the platform. The link is also on the website of the QWEB. So I am now going to get into a demonstration of the platform. So I presented to you the technical requirements of the platform. Now I'm going to show you how the platform works and how we can input data on the platform and share the information with other users. So when we log into the platform, we have the welcome page with downloadable resources. We have a user guide. We have the template for private forest origins importation. This will be updated in order to have also the procedure for town and townships. We might hold off on uploading it for now. I think we will update the user guide and the private forest origins importation once we have added the support for counties, so that the documentation is up to date at that time. We also have the data usage license for the different databases that we are using, the terms and conditions. On the account page, you will see the information of your connection. So what email you've used, the name and last name, first name and last name used. You will also see to which mails you have access. So for example, I have access to Sawmill XYZ, and I am a manager of that mail. If you have access to many mails, you will see the whole list. There's an access token. The access token, most of the users won't use it. It's only useful if you use the API. So if you interact with the platform through programming, if you only use the platform, you will not need the access token. This is not how you grant access to your data to other users. I will show you how to do this. In the code block section, so this is where you will see the code blocks you have. This is how you can add code blocks. So now I log in. I have no data that's been added to my profile yet. If I want to add data, I will use the import code block button at the bottom left. I click on it. I'll do the demonstration for a shapefile first, and then I'll show you how to import lists of either town and townships or of cadastral numbers or parcel IDs. So here is the shapefile that I want to import. It's got a lot of files. I have to use all of the files in order to make my import. I click open. And now I have a notification informing me that the importation is incomplete. That's because I have to identify manually what field in my shapefile matches to which field asked by the platform. So the platform wants a code block identifier. This has to be a unique identifier so that the platform is able, if there's a problem, it can identify the correct the correct polygon that's been problematic and identify it to the user. So I identify the unique ID, harvest date field. I have a date field named harvest date, and then the area field. So these are the three informations that I need in order to complete the importation. I click OK, I accept to re-import using the new parameters. And now the importation has been completed. We can see that 11 polygons have been added. If I zoom in, they will appear. And then I'll go through the different features of cut block management. So if I click on this cut block, I have different information. So I have the cut blocks information and information also that is specific to the whole importation. If I go in the cut blocks information, I have the cut block name, harvest date, and the area. I can also have, it also tells me what is the intersection with other layers. For example, in my case, the polygon is 100% contained in the layer forest management units. If I was in a protected area, it would tell me as well. So for example, this polygon is contained in the Parc National du Mont Mégantic, and it shows me the warning in red so that I can know what the problem was. I can also add associated files either to the cut block or to the whole importation. If I want to add a file, I just click on the associated files and click plus to add the files. We also have the original file that's been used for the import. We have a importation log, which can tell us if there has been errors. So for example, here I'm informed that feature with index 8 in the shapefile couldn't be read and was ignored because the polygon geometry was invalid. So then you can go and verify what caused the issue in your own file. We can also modify a whole importation, so you can change the importation setting if you didn't do the field mapping correctly. And you can also go in the cut blocks information. You can modify information for a specific cut block. You can also delete a cut block or delete the whole importation. And if you click here, you can zoom so you locate the polygon on the map. So that's pretty much the features regarding the cut blocks. I'll show you how to do the import with an Excel file now. So it's the same button that we used in order to import the data from a shapefile, except now you'll choose your Excel file. I'll just show you quickly what the Excel file I'm using looks like. So this is the Excel file I'm importing, and there I have Quebec parcel IDs, I have New Brunswick parcel IDs, I have Maine township, and I also have a New York township that I have identified. The data will manage all this different information in a single import. So I choose, so I choose the corresponding file, the Excel file. The information is in the importation is incomplete. I have to go and create the correspondence. So my cut block identifier field will be the cadastral number or parcel ID or name of township. The harvest date field has already been manually identified, automatically identified by the platform. And I'll also have to identify the province or state field, which in my case is named province or state. I click OK, I accept for the re-importation. And now we have the corrected cut blocks. So if I zoom out, we'll see the cut blocks that have been added. So I have 2 private cut blocks from Quebec that have been added. I have cut blocks from New Brunswick that have been added as well. And I also have the cut blocks from the USA that have been added. So I have my Aurora cut block. Well, it's not a cut block, it's the whole township outline. And then we also have the town of Albion that's been identified as that's what I had identified on in the Excel file. These files that have been imported through an Excel have all the same features, the same editing features, the same information that are added to them. There's also a warning here that has appeared. It tells us that a cut block has been corrected. If I click on it, it will show me what cut block has been corrected. It tells me here that the geometry has been corrected and holes were removed. If I hover over the warning, it shows the modification that's been made. So that's the polygon right now. If I hover, it shows me that before there was a hole in the polygon and the hole has been filled in. I can accept the warning. Even if I do not accept it, the modification is still made. The warning is just to inform the user that the modification has been made. And there's also cursors. There's a slider in order to control what dates are shown on the platform. So here, as you can see, as I slide, there are polygons showing up and disappearing. And there's also a search box so that I can search a specific cut block by its name. File management. Sorry, just before file management, I'll show you the exportation feature. So I can create a GeoJSON file from the data on here. The button appears as soon as you have data that's been added. If I hover, it says generate GeoJSON file. I click on it. I choose the mill for which I want to create the GeoJSON file and the time period for which I want to create the GeoJSON file. And then I just have to click generate. And the file is created. I can download it. It creates a zip file. In the zip file, we have the GeoJSON file that Sylvain was showing, and then we also have the data licenses that of the data that's been used. If I go to file management, you'll see a list of all the files that have been used by the mills to which I have access. So if I filter by date, I'll have the most recent ones. So you'll see the shapefile I used for import, the Excel file I used, and the export file I just created. You can delete, you can do data management through here as well. So you can delete some files that you've used for importation or exportation, or you can delete export files, but it does keep them in memory. I'll go into account management to show you the different accesses and how to grant them. So I have access to Sawmill XYZ. If I click, I see the client mills that are identified. I'll delete this one to show you how to add one. I have the groups where I'll see all the users that have access to the mill. If I go into manager, I'll see myself as I am the manager. Read-write, we can see that there were already 2 people with read-write access. So these people can also import data and export data from the mill. And I could also add read-only users if I had a user that wanted to consult my data. So in this case, it works with the email address of the user. So I add the email, and now Louis Allard has access to the platform in a read-only access. I can also identify client mails. So if I want to identify the FORAC mail, I just type in FORAC and it adds the client mail to my client mail. So these clients will now be able to see the data. And you can also see what mails have identified themselves as being your suppliers. For example, in this case, fournisseur de la série XYZ, so supplier of Sawmill XYZ, would have identified itself as being one of my suppliers. So I can accept this relationship. So I activate the supplier. and now I will be able to see their data in my own cut blocks data. And if I export data for sawmill XYZ, the data from the supplier of sawmill XYZ will also be included into this data export. So if I go back to my cut blocks, I'll now see the data from my new supplier. So all these cut blocks were not appearing before. These are cut blocks from my supplier. If I zoom in, I will see them in gray. So that's how you can distinguish cut blocks coming from your own mill or cut blocks coming from supplier mills. Supplier mill one will be grayed out, and the information is limited, so you only have information on the specific cut block, but you cannot modify anything. However, if you do your GeoJSON export, this information will be included, and if Siri XYZ, so if I grant access. So for example, in my case, I granted access to FORAC. FORAC will also see the data from my supplier, but it will see it as being part of my own sawmill. It will not see the name of my supplier. So that protects the privacy of my supplier. So that's pretty much the demonstration of the platform that I wanted to make. We will take questions. If you have some, you can input them into the Q&R and the chat. They will be answered. And we will also answer at the end of the session if you have questions. We will now go into the testimonials part of the presentation. As Luc was saying, we wanted to have Sylvain Couturier, who is a forest engineer and certification coordinator at GDS. He was present last week during the French presentation of the platform, but sadly he couldn't be here today. So I'll present what he presented. The way I'll go through it is I'll present the required information that Sylvain has to gather in order to comply to EUDR. He had started to gather the information and submit the information to his customers before starting to use the platform. So I'll talk about the time required before he used the platform and the tasks that have been made easier or completely removed since he used the platform, and a report on the time saved since. So the way GDS works is they have a calendar of all the harvest that's happening, all the wood that's delivered to the platform, not to the platform, to their mills, is being tracked. So for any given week or month, GDS knows from what different harvest sites the wood is coming. So using this information and this schedule, Sylvain was able to take the information, use the whole harvest plan of the created by the government of Quebec, and select the specific harvest sites for the month concerned. So once the selection had been made, it gave him this result. So for example, that would be all the places from where wood has come into his mills during a specific month. So he could then take this information, export it into a shapefile format, and send the shapefile to his clients, which could be quite tedious, and he had to send it individually to each client. He estimates that gathering this data took about 2 hours per month. So that's not so bad. However, when he wanted to gather the data coming from private lots, that was a bit more complicated. So the Timber Producers Union of Gaspésie would supply him with a list of all the parcel IDs from which wood had been harvested and delivered to his mills. So it would take the whole list and manually use the layer produced by the Quebec government. So he would take his list, go through the private wooded lots layer of the government, do a selection based on all the numbers he had manually in ArcGIS, and then he would obtain the selection of parcels and send this manually to his clients. He described this task as being quite tedious. He has a bit of experience with geomatics, but he is not the most well-versed, so he thought it was quite complicated, quite tedious. He said at the start it took him over 1 day per month to gather this information. Once he was more at ease with the process, it took him about 4 hours per month, which is still quite a good amount of time in a month. So that takes his total to 6 hours. And before using the platform, he also had to transfer all the data manually to his users through email, through different methods. He had to complete specific spreadsheets and specific formats for his customers. He had to have email exchanges with details having to be figured out. So he estimates that this took about 4 hours a week, and bringing him to a total of about 10 hours a week before using the platform, which is quite long, and he thought it was quite tedious, and he didn't enjoy that part of work. Since using the platform, however, he says the time used has reduced drastically. So the step of procurement of gathering the data for the public sector still has to be done. So he still has to manually select which harvest sites have been harvested during a specific month. So that still takes 2 hours. However, for the procurement of the private sector, he doesn't have any manipulations geomatically to make. He now just takes his Excel file that's supplied by his supplier. He inputs it into the platform. It takes only a few minutes, and it's imported for the month. So we remove this 4 hours to only a few minutes every month. And then for the individual customer requests, so sending the data to users, this has also greatly reduced in time through the platform, since the transfer is made automatically from user to user once you have identified who are your customers. So this now takes 0 hours per week. So he went from spending 10 hours, so a little bit more than a day, to spending only 2 hours per month on his EUDR conformity. So he was very satisfied with the platform. I think it shows how the platform can help users of different scales to save time, and it doesn't only benefit the paper mills that have all their data in a single place. It also benefits the sawmills that need a simple way to input their data and send it to their customers easily. So that's what I wanted to present, and that's what Sylvain wanted to highlight in his presentation. So now we'll have the testimonial of Nicolas Meyer. Nicolas Meyer is a procurement director at Domtar Mill in Windsor. So I'll let him introduce himself and present how he uses the platform.
Good morning, everybody. As Louis said, my name is Nicolas Meyer. I'm a fiber procurement manager and land manager for the Domtar Mill in Windsor. So I'll be sharing how we view EUDR and how fiber sourcing within the compliance of EUDR is done here, done not necessarily just here, but within the Domtar system. Before we get there, maybe just to put a bit of context is the history of the mill. Domtar Windsor has been producing pulp and paper, not the paper that we are using right now, but for 160 years. It's not the same mill. That mill here was built 37 years ago, but this is a new mill that is still in Windsor. That's Windsor, Quebec. We're the last integrated fine paper mill in Canada, where we produce about 640,000 tons, short tons per year. We are certified FSC, SFI, PFC, and chain of custody certification for SFI and FSC. And we are also a forest woodland owner, where we own 400,000 acres of land that is certified with FSC, SFI, and also PFC and ISO 14001. We are one of the largest pulpwood user here in Quebec. It's 1.7 million cubic meters per year, so that's a lot of fiber that comes to the mill. And we're one of the largest users of woodland. Marketing board producers, where they produce wood. We're one of the consumers that one is the biggest. So this is a view of the mill. We've got the wood yard in the back. We've got a turbo generator 1 and 2, administrative offices. You've got the pulp mill on. That's one line there. That's one integrated system. We've got 2 paper machines at the mill. We've got outside business. It's Celluforce, where we are a shareholder in that company, and we have a converting site where we sell directly paper and in bulk or in packaging directly to the client, that goes from the mill right down to the end user all over North America or to the United European nation. When we also have one part of the warehouse here at the mill, and where we can gather about a month of product here directly at the mill. This is within a block of 2,000 acres of land, where this land is located right beside the Highway 55 between Sherbrooke and Drummondville. Fiber sourcing for the mill, as I was saying, we take 1.7 million cubic meters per year. So we take most of the fiber from Domtar land. We own the part that supplies about 15% of the needs at the mill. The rest, about 25%, are the marketing boards. We do have agreements with 9 of the marketing boards in Quebec. All the colored parts there are all crown land, where we do also supply part of the mill, about 35% of our needs. To the mill. And also the United States sends about let's say 20 to 25% to supply our needs at the mill. We take a lot of chips from different sawmills, especially hardwood sawmills around the region. Would they saw hardwood, or would they consume hardwood or poplar? Not so much so of softwoods around the region. But we are also a wood producer because we own the land. We manage our forests sustainably, mostly because of partial cutting. And we do sell logs to different sawmills, hardwood and softwood mills, or even some of the pulp mills in the region. Just different, same information, but viewed differently. Our fiber sourcing is about 50,000 loads per year, so that's between 200 and 300 loads per day. That's a lot of volume, and we are able to identify all the loads through our scale house and be able to directly pay all of the suppliers and the haulers, truckers, and all different, let's say, even the producers through this scaling system. And what we added this year is the possibility to also be able to be compliant to EUDR. It is not a simple system. As Sylvain and Louis said, Domtar is a big company, and we see it as a whole. as a whole system. We could have done this all our own, but we decided to go through different systems that were used, mostly because we gathered information, but all of the other forest transformers also use this information. So why do it by ourselves? We can do it together. Maybe it makes it a lot easier, and we can be helpful to the forest system here in Quebec, the northern United States, and also part of Ontario. So I won't go through this explanation of what is EUDR. Sylvain explained it, but this is how we see it. We do it because of compliancy, because there might be penalties if there's non-compliance, and we have only one line here at the mill in Windsor, and all of the fiber needs to be processed and accounted for in one big clunk, even in non-bubbling clunk. Even though we have chip piles, 3 different chip piles, and many log yards in there, we need to have it as one system. We will be needing geolocalization, but also due diligence statements, risk analysis from the sectors, because we are not necessarily putting all the harvest blocks in our system, as most of the suppliers, especially for the small marketing boards, producers don't necessarily have all the shape files for their sector they are managing. They know where they are doing it, but not necessarily in a very fine space. In most of our bigger suppliers, we will be receiving some of the shape files directly for their harvesting sectors, as we explained earlier on. We will be using the information of QWEB through a system. QWEB here is all the where QWEB will give us information is through geolocalization. We will be using Trace as the system for the whole business unit, and also different business units, I would say, because we have 3 business units here at Domtar. There's wood products, there's a paper and pulp, and there's tissue. That is a different system also, but we will be determining our compliance through and determining our traceability through all of those business units to be sold to the clients. So all of the products that will be sold to the European Union will be compliant to QWEB. It is not to QWEB, sorry, but to EUDR, and we are using part of the information through QWEB. That is available for us. It's not the only platform that we are using. We are using other platforms because some of the users are using other platforms. But one thing I really liked about the QWEB is that it's very simple to use. They've adapted their platform to be compliant to our needs, and also adapted their platform to other platforms that are available, like Origine des Bois for one, or Trace as we know it in our system. They do deliver the geolocalization, and they put the information there that is oftenly asked to determine the risk analysis and to give more precision on the harvesting sectors. Another thing, as I explained earlier on, that I really like about the QWEB platform is that it helps us gain time or not lose time, as I would say it in some situation, and because one information that is put in as a business unit, as a mill or a business unit, there will be helpful for all of the system. In Quebec, most of the harvesting that is done to supply the mill is done through partial cutting. So we might, within one stand, we might produce pulpwood, also saw logs. In some cases, it's saw logs that are hardwood or softwood, and other species of wood. And this will be helpful for the whole system, and we can work together to our compliancy for all of our sector of supply. This platform, I think, will also evolve in the future, as Louis said earlier on. They're adapting right now. They really went executed the mandate very swiftly, and we are continuing to evolve this platform for needs to be to comply for needs in the future. So the QWEB and the FORAC have been very helpful in providing this service for us and for all of the forest system for Quebec, for Ontario, for part of Ontario, and also the United States. That's about what I had to say for this information. I'm sorry, I have a small flu here, so my voice is not that my voice is not that loud. So right now, that would be all, Louis.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Nicolas. I think we're at the part of questions from the audience. Unless Sylvain, you want to add something?
No, that's fine. Just to inform you about Domtar, and we talk with Ontario now. We're negotiating with Ontario on the private land access to data, and I know there's a big problem in Ontario about chips. So chips can, if they don't comply with EUDR, no paper mill will buy any chips from Ontario if they don't have their geolocation system. So I think it's kind of mandatory things to do, not necessarily through our platform. You can all do that manually. There's no problem, but I think it's a mandatory system. So it's open for a question. I will let Nathalie drive the show for the open mics. Nathalie?
Okay, you can go ahead.
So yeah, any question? Yeah.
Good information. Sylvain didn't say it, but compliance is mandatory for Quebec for all of the supply. We've put the date of the 31st of October for all of the supply, even though there might be a delay in the actual EUDR regulation be enforced. We've decided to be compliant for the 31st of October for all of our supply. So all of our suppliers will need to be compliant with the help of Louis and other suppliers like Origine des Bois. We've been able, Louis with the QWEB and FORAC, we've been able to be compliant so far at 90% almost. And by the end of this week or beginning of next week, we'll be compliant fully.
See, Nicolas. So any question?
Yeah, please raise your hand.
There's a question in the Q&Rs.
Oh, yeah.
We have one from Paul Tremblay. How are your discussion going for accessing Ontario private land parcels?
I can go ahead and start, and Sylvain, if you want to add on it, you can. We have had talks with the DNR, not the DNR, but the Ministry of Forests in Ontario. They understand the issue, so they understand why we would need access to the land parcels. They're open to supporting us and supporting our request for the data. If this doesn't work, even with the support of their Ministry of Forests, we personally think that industry of Ontario has to put pressure on their government in order to make the data accessible. We're only a research consortium, so we don't have that much influence on the Ontario decisions, but if their forest industry puts some pressure, I think it will help speed up the process. But for now, we're trying, just requesting with the support of the Ministry of Forests, and we'll see where this goes.
Yeah. Same for Nova Scotia. We had Irving is testing the platform, and Irving would put pressure on Nova Scotia, so much stronger than us. There's another question about how do you prove the deforestation free in private land? The problem is the small owners will not do any work on this. The work will be done through the risk assessment of the province. There is no deforestation because in Quebec, I think it's everywhere the same. If you want to convert a land, you need a permit. So you will have a permit needed to convert a forest land to agriculture land or other land. But here we have also the de minimis aspect. If a lot is a agricultural lot, and there's I don't know, an hectare of forest at the top of the lot, and the owners just cut that to grow his land. This is a de minimis issue. It's not a deforestation large scale, so it's not considered. The risk exists in Canada, in Quebec, is a blueberry development. So if you cut a large part of forest to do a blueberry section, this is a deforestation on the definition of EUDR. So that wood cannot go to any sawmill, or it can go to a local mill to do local use, but that's it. So, but that's the only case that we can see there. I don't think there's any other deforestation to agriculture in a large format.
Sorry, just to follow up on that piece then, with the case of the blueberries, how would people know that they're getting it from the blueberries farm when it's through that marketing board? Is that marketing board then finding out about that and
No, that's the permit.
segregating?
If you need if you want to convert a land in blueberry, you will have a permit from the government, and it will be registered into the land system of Quebec. So you will see that automatically in the platform. We'll see that coming from a blueberry, so a blueberry area, and we keep the data for long term. So if there is a private land, like 10 years that we didn't know, but it's now became, it's not a forest anymore. But you understand that in 10 years, the wood will have been consumed and there will be no reaction. So what we check is only the year that we do, and based on the permit. And we cannot control what's happened if the land is sold to somebody else and what's happened in the future, but neither EUDR can control that.
Thank you.
Maybe if I can just add, the way we'll have to address this is the responsibility for the forest producer. The producer of the fiber needs to be compliant with the EUDR if he wants to sell the fiber to a compliant mill. He can sell the wood somewhere else, as let's say firewood, or a mill that doesn't export to the UE. But if you want to plan on selling to a Domtar mill, you'll need, and most of the mills in Quebec that do export, they'll need to be compliant with that, and they have to attest through an appendix or an acceptance of the contract that you're compliant with the EUDR. So this fiber cannot be put in unless it is batched through a system where they can divide the wood that is going to be transformed to be producing a product that is being exported. In our case, Domtar, we cannot do that. All the chips are all mixed together. I know in some of the sawmills they can split these parcels or sectors there, but most of the cases it's the responsibility of the producer to get informed if it's compliant or not.
Yeah, well, thank you for your answer, Nicolas, because I think it's indeed not so simple. I mean, even if you need a permit to get a blueberry farm, you can still go and sell your wood, and if somebody is not aware of that, you get into trouble. And that's the difference again between geolocation and traceability. And what the platform provides is geolocation, but for traceability, there's extra work that is needed by any responsible buyer and supplier.
Exactly. I just wanted to add that the platform won't check if it's a blueberry farm or anything. You won't have a notification if it's a blueberry farm. The only thing we check is it in a protected area or not, but we make no checks for deforestation versus no deforestation.
But one thing the platform can do is add information through the links that you put in, and you can add information where the wood was harvested. Let's say you have a lot number that's 100 acres, and the harvesting was just one load. You have a position where, let's say you have a harvesting permit, and it's a partial cutting. You can add that information to the harvesting block that you put into the QWEB. You can put more information, but you're not. The QWEB is not being responsible for this information.
Sorry, just to belabor this a bit more, where you were saying it's the de minimis within Quebec on that like province scale, but then Domtar is saying that, the producers need to be really doing that check. But my understanding is everything goes through a marketing board pretty much for private wood. So how are producers able to do that check? Because doing a satellite check after you've already received the wood, it's frankly too late. It needs to be at that front end, and our marketing board's finding a way to get that information so that you can make those informed decisions.
Well, let's say if I could put an example as the marketing board here in the Eastern Township, they ask the permit, is this harvesting done in what type of cutting is there? Do you have a permit for the cutting? Or when we have projects to mobilize more fiber from the private woodlots, they ask information on where the harvesting was done. You can harvest wood and from a conversion site or a degraded forest, but you just have to tell the information from the landowner to the marketing board. This is one example. I'm not sure all the marketing boards are complying to that, but they have to give the information to the marketing board.
Okay, and then producers can ask for that just to have basically that split of like, is this deforestation or not? So they could either accept or not or segregate said volume.
That's right.
Okay, we have a question in the Q&R from Trina. Can you expand on your minimus aspect for private land?
Yeah, for the minimus is just because the land in Quebec, at least, the land management is already defined. Like a lot will be agricultural land, and normally it's not divided into forests and agriculture. It's zoned the I don't know the zonage in English, but the land is defined as an agricultural land, all the land. So the small forest is not a forest land in terms of government regulations. But if you talk for the forest perspective, any deforestation is the deforestation. But for EUDR, that's not considered. Like same thing if you build a house or you grow a new development in the city, it is deforestation. But the purpose of EUDR is not that. They just want to stop the big deforestation to agriculture on a massive scale. So that's why it's not considered. You can say that consider Brazil as a global all agricultural land, but that makes no sense. It's already covered into forest land and agriculture area. The key part is also the degradation, which like you cut a forest and to put eucalyptus or palm oil, it's still a forest, but this is considered a degradation. So there's a lot of tweak, but that's the goal of EUDR and how they define the deforestation.
Yeah, so I understand so we were told that the designation of agricultural zones was not a pass on, I guess, accepting fiber, it's small amounts of fiber from those private lands, and that you would have to, it would still be considered deforestation because that land hadn't been agriculture prior. So just the designation of agriculture doesn't give it that pass.
No, there's a date, 2020.
Yes.
So anything that was before 2020 is already zone agriculture or whatever, it's okay. But you cannot change the law in 25 and say, okay, now we consider that agriculture. That's not.
Yeah, but we were told from some of the other associations that just the designation of agriculture does not mean that it can be deforested, that
Absolutely,
it has to be active, an active agriculture site, and it have to be split. So if you have a large tract of land and you were going to be clearing, so this is more for like clearing areas.
large. Yep.
Yeah, and so then you would have to segregate those areas, and that would be considered deforestation,
Yep.
even though it fell under the umbrella of agriculture zone. So how
Yep.
does that fall in with this de minimis aspect?
No,
under
no.
the
If you have,
agriculture zone?
yeah, if you have like in Quebec doesn't exist, but if you have like in prairies where you have a big land of, I don't know, how many square kilometers, this is certainly, if you switch that to agriculture as a forest, yeah, that would be considered deforestation for sure. I'm talking de minimis is strictly for the small lot owners who are already a forest existing in a existing small agricultural land designated.
Okay.
When what Sylvain is saying, it's just when you square out a plot of land that is agriculture, let's say cutting a couple of trees and replacing it with another parcel of land that will be forested. That's what he's saying. But your example is considered deforestation for sure.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
So we have another question from Ted. Jiu-Jitsu file size limit of 25 MB was mentioned earlier. Does the export tool provide a warning if the selected block add up to a file bigger than that? And how would you recommend that the export could be split into separate output files?
Yeah, so Remy answered this in the chat, but I can go back on it. So for now, there is no warning when the file size exceeds 25 megabits. The way to limit the size would be by controlling the date range, as I showed with the slider when you make the exportation. Development on this issue is planned, so either we will automatically split the file into different files, or add a warning that the date range has to be changed so that the files are smaller. We'll see exactly how this is done, but development is planned.
Thank you. I don't see other question. Last chance. So we don't have any more question coming in.
Good sign, means clear. And the video and the presentations are available. It will be available like by this afternoon or tomorrow on the website, QWEB website, both in French or in English. So and you understand what we have done for East. For West, we cannot go there and implement the data sets, but if a government, they can just take the platform and implement themselves their data sets of private and forest, and the industry can use it. As I said, it's a tool to create geolocation. That's for sure. The traceability, if you are, I would give an example of a pellet manufacturers, and you buy sawdust from the 5 mills around in your area, your chain of custody is quite easy. You have 5 suppliers, you ask them their geolocation files, and you give that to your importers in Europe, and that's it. You don't need to create a massive chain of custody. You have only 5 suppliers, and it's only sawdust, and it's all the same. So it's an easy one. But if it's a more complex one, you need to have your own traceability system.
I just want to add if you have any.
If not,
I just want to add if you have any questions coming.
Thanks to everybody to attend, and the presentation is available. Thank you to the presenter. Bye-bye.